lot of videos out there about how to buy your first guitar, but there's not a whole lot about how to buy your second. So today we'll dive into that. When and why to buy your second guitar. Now, to be clear, I am not necessarily talking about selling your first guitar in order to buy a new guitar or anything like that. That's awesome, that's great, but that's not what I'm talking about. What I'm talking about is that when your one guitar starts to become a collection of guitars, or at least two guitars. So why would you want to do this? Why would you want to have and keep two guitars? In my experience, there are three reasons. First and most common, maybe you want to upgrade. When you bought your first guitar, maybe you were on a budget, or maybe you didn't even know if you would stick with it. But now, you've decided it's great, you've put together a little bit of cash, and you're ready to make a new purchase. But maybe you watch my video about how many guitars you should have, spoiler alert, it's 2, and you realize that you wanted to keep the old guitar as a backup. In this case, you're going to want to start thinking about everything you like about your old guitar and also everything that you don't. By now, you've probably discovered some preferences and opinions that you didn't have when you bought the first guitar. Maybe you've decided that your Stratocaster's pickups are a little bit too shrill, or maybe your Les Paul's too heavy to be carrying on your shoulder for 4 hours. Maybe you really do like your guitar's neck and you wanted to stick close to that. Armed with all of this information, you go to the store, you start checking out some new guitars, and you buy something that's going to work a little bit better for you, keeping the old one as a backup. Speaking of backups, the second reason you might buy a second guitar is to be a direct backup to your first one. Maybe the first go around you saved up and you bought a really nice American Strat, and so now you want to have something for if a string breaks and your trem pulls the strings all out of tune, so you buy a Mexican Fender. That's okay. Maybe you've got a really nice humbucker guitar, and so you want to pick up a PRS SE or an Epiphone so you can sit it on the stand for that one drop D song that your band plays. In any event, this is a really, really easy decision. You're just getting something cheaper that sounds pretty similar. The best thing about this is that it makes dialing in your rig, your amp, your effects, everything else, really, really easy because you've got two guitars that sound similar to each other. This makes switching guitars really simple because they sound similar. Understand that you'll never find two guitars that are exactly the same. There's just too many differences in tolerances, differences in the wood, differences in the setup. You're just never going to find two that are going to be identical. But these two will be very, very similar. The third option, which is my personal favorite, is to buy a guitar that sounds very, very different than the first one. Remember, any guitar of a sufficient quality will be able to play convincingly in any genre of music. So maybe you've got a Telecaster and you want to get something with humbuckers. Maybe you've got a Gretsch and you're really looking for something with P90s. I have 4 guitars right now: Les Paul, Stratocaster, a Telecaster, and then a second Telecaster that has P90s. Each one of them sounds drastically different than the others. The downside is that it's a lot harder to set up an amplifier that's going to sound great with everything. And in fact, really any setting is going to be a compromise for some or all of the guitars. So I just set my rig up for my number one, and I just understand that all of the rest of them are going to sound compromised. That compromise, to me, is totally worth it because of all the different tonal colors I can get. So, there you have it. What was your second guitar? Did you fall into one of these categories? Maybe your number 2 guitar served another purpose. Let's talk about it in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider hitting subscribe, and don't forget to click the little notification icon so that way you'll know every time I release a new video. And just remember, sing your song because you're the only one who can. See you next time.